wait a minute. We have a council member that wanted to say something. Linda?
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. I hear everybody speak, and I appreciate all the thought that went into it. I've also had a lot of phone calls on this since the information came out. As far as the entertainment, it is an entertainment area. We have the poorhouse, we have the townhouse. I've heard music in the Seville, the Lyric. Clark's was a great place. We enjoyed going out with groups and having a dinner, having a couple drinks, hearing some music. So that is an entertainment area. And I hear Matt say that they have some other places that would like to also offer some more entertainment areas, which I'd love to see in our downtown. Music and entertainment is well missed in this area. And we do go to other places to get it, but we don't get the tax revenue off of it, and we have to drive a long way to get back home. So it would be nice to have something that closes at 10, it's not all night. I think we're running a lot off of fear, too, of what it could be. I think we have a great law enforcement. I don't think we're going to be a Beale Street. I don't believe we're going to be a Dixon Street. We're not that kind of a college town. But it would be nice for, and I don't make the cut and age that Matt's targeting, unfortunately, that's a tease, but I think a lot of people would like to go stroll downtown, have a couple drinks, maybe hear some music, have some food, and then I hear 39 out of 41 businesses that I have to be struggling. I don't know how they're making it, especially through COVID right now. I speak for myself, and most of the people I know aren't going out as much. To sit outside and be able to be outside and hear something would be a great welcome. I'm also going to address something else, and I don't want this to sound rude, but again, it was fear. When we did go wet, you're right, Ken, we were told we would have chains coming in, food chains come in. We really haven't. We were also told that we would have drunks on every corner and prostitutes. We don't have that either. That was the fear. And so I'd like to go at that and look at it, kind of a maybe middle road, and see what we could offer. I don't think it's going to be all based about alcohol and drunks falling down. It's carrying maybe a drink over to another business. It might pick up an uptick some, but I just don't see that it's going to be a runaway train with people coming in and drinking and paroling our streets. That would be a fear situation. Gene at the poorhouse brought a great idea up too. You know, what if this does go through, we have something, and we could do some type of fundraising for our community. And like the young lady spoke, you know, we could bring up something, do fundraisers, raise something that we could do something for our youth. We got the skate park downtown. I see it get used some, but I know most of the stuff for the youth is probably near the school, K-Life, and the activities there, but we do need something more for the youth. And I think I kind of hit all my spots there, but I wanted to ask Matt, this is for you, what about seating outside? I know you talked about it being kind of a lure. One of the other people spoke to sit across on the square, and they're right. Would there be more benches or what have you offered outside in the establishments that were there for seating and or as a smoking gazebo? You can't take your alcohol there, but I guess people could go over there and smoke, because you know you're going to have people want to be outside to maybe have a cigarette, I guess.
Yeah, so obviously businesses could incorporate benches. You know, if I'm a store owner on the square and I see that there's always somebody sitting in front of the poorhouse because she has benches, then I'm more likely to throw a couple out in front of my shop to encourage them to come over into my storefront. So I didn't ask the question, hey, if we did this, would you put a bench out in front of your store? But, you know, I'm going to assume that they would to create that draw.
Okay, Matt, thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Let's go ahead with the vote. Joel, you have a committee of Mary Jean, Linda, Heath, and Chrisette. Wayne's not here. He's on the committee, but he's not on that list.
The committee
Yep.
is Mary Jean Crager, Linda DeWald, Heath Kirkpatrick, and Wayne Combs.
I'm on there too.
Yeah, Chris is on there also.
Okay.
So,
I would listen for motion.
Did Joel make a motion?
Yes. No, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion. We take it to council.
We will have to have a second.
I'll second it.
There is a second, so it will go before the council.
I
If the
think we're
vote
going
is
to
there.
need more input though.
Okay. If the vote's there.
I think we
I'm
need,
asking
we need
for a
roll,
vote.
roll call.
Roll call vote.
Jeff, or you got the committee, you wanna do a roll call?
We just need a second.
Somebody go wait.
I can do it.
Okay, Mary Jean Krieger,
Yes,
Linda DeWald,
Yes.
Heath Kirkpatrick,
No.
Wayne Cone is not available, Chris Head,
No.
typo,
make sure I didn't miss anybody. You have a tie,
typo.
We have a
we
tie.
go to the chairman.
You'll have to vote.
Chairman votes no.
Motion does not pass.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Everybody goes and spends some money on their downtown square, they're going to.
Y'all come back sometime. We're open for business, what's going on? Mike, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good. You wanna get up and say something?
Mary Jean, how are you, sir? Your son is on me.
Some days I
Yes, I-
I need a psychological exam. Okay.
I said we deserve. That's what people really
Joe can
need to come and talk. I mean, besides just.
Exactly. His party died. That's excellent.
I got the same phone call. I'm dead.
It's gonna get real mundane from this point on.
No, he's.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead with the committee reports out of finance, if that's good with the committee.
Yes.
Okay, so we won't wait for the mayor. So, that being said, you have financials for three items for consideration here. The financials, budget for 2021, and CARES Act funding is what we're going to be discussing. So in regards to the financials, we'll start there first for September. Again, this goes through, we still have 3 months of the year left. There's only two funds that are in deficit, one being the water and sewer fund, which is at a deficit of 122, and that is a 228%, or $28,000 improvement than what is budgeted. So the budget is 350 deficit so far this year, 122. That will come into play when we get a little bit further talking about the actual budget for 2021. The deficit in the general fund is $214,000. That's $105,000 better than what our budgeted deficit is. I will let Luke speak to it if he disagrees with me. We want to be conservative here, but we're hoping that in the end of the year that we'll be at least even in the general fund. October should be our best month for our taxes. I don't know where we are on September taxes, sales tax, but obviously we're 2 months in arrears as far as reporting. So again, I think that at the end of the year, we should be, even at the current rate, we should be better off, barring anything in the general fund that's, again, unforeseen. Any questions at all or comments in regard to the financials as presented? No vote to move forward or anything like that, for information only. The next item is the 2021 budget. If you have a chance to review any of that, there's a couple things that I will mention in regard to that. Reminder that we created franchise be funds for both, or for all, the police and fire in addition to the general fund. But you have a cover sheet that all of you should have seen, and I'll point out, an area first of concern I brought to council's attention a couple of months ago. If you review that, the only area that we really have a potential problem with, and it's not an immediate problem, is over the next 3 to 4 years. We haven't had enough increases in water rates to cover the additional cost over and above the CPI. So that being said, this budget includes a 5% increase in water rates. And Luke, if you don't mind, where are we at with the CPI portion of that?
So the CPI is about 3%. Obviously, we won't know that 100% until towards the middle of next month, I believe. But yeah, we're at 3%. The rest of it kind of comes, and just kind of as a background, you know, we really haven't raised much more than CPI anyways, except for adding the credit card charge. But, you know, minimum wages went up and it's affected everybody, but we haven't taken that into consideration. That's a federal CPI. That's not an Arkansas CPI. And Arkansas minimum wage is what's went up, not the federal. So that's part of why we're needing to increase, because we're going to have to start increasing our wages to match. So,
and part of that, in the discussion with Luke, and this started a couple of months ago when we were getting numbers together. I told Luke, I said, I have a concern about this, and ironically, he had that same concern looking at it. As we have dwindled down reserves, we've gone from 4.4 million down to 2.6 million. Now, that being said, we're looking at a deficit next year of 341,000 in water. So if you project it out over a couple of years, we could eat reserves up. Now, Luke is optimistic about the year following, 2022. But that being said, we don't want to not look at this and have some sort of increase. We're not trying to recover what we've lost or build reserves in this. What we propose is that we stem any losses that we're seeing. Does that make sense? We just want to stem some of the loss in ground that we're having against reserves. And so, again, I'm sure a lot of people, how does that translate to the general public? We're looking at a $2 to $2.40 increase per month in water bills in comparison year over year.
So is that 3% for CPI?
3%.
2% for proposed rate increase on top of that, for a total of 5%.
Total of 5%. And again, without that, I don't remember what the number was, but it was like $660,000 for a reserve of $1.8 million. We're eating a third of it in 1 year.
I just kind of want to prep everybody too. This is probably going to be a 3 or 4 year process. We're not looking to catch it all up right at one time. But even another 5%, we're looking at maybe break even next year. And so to actually build reserves back up, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, then you're looking at maybe 5% every year for the next 3 or 4 years, to where you actually have that available and start building up those reserves again. So that way, when another clarifier project or another pipe bursting project comes along, we've got the money sitting there, and it's not, pull from reserves, pull from reserves, pull from reserves. I believe Wade even mentioned, he's on here, probably speak a little bit more to it, but when he got here, it was down below $1 million. And for years and years, we had to build up that reserves and build up reserves. Luckily, we did, and now we're able to pull from that. But at some point in time, we're going to have to build those reserves back up again.
So like I say, this is that news. In looking at the total budget, again, the general fund, we have a surplus general fund budget for the first time since I've been doing this. So there's a lot of good news in here. And you don't want to draw your attention to the bad news, but if you don't pay attention to this, and if we didn't do anything in 3 or 4 years, we're going to say, okay, we're going to go up 25%, we're going to go up 40% or something like that. Okay? Any questions or comments, concerns?
And again, I think, Mitch, if you mentioned, what a minimum bill would go up.
I did.
I think, okay, just wanted to make sure that that was mentioned in there.
Now, Luke, you want to mention, talk about the crew that's been in town? I think that's a real positive. We're very close to getting all the water reporting to report accurately. And once that happens, we'll be able to identify usage and people that have more usage than they should. And this whole thing can be a real service to the community.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, it's not that it's not reporting accurately now. It's that we have to go out and read it. And part of the reason why we did the water project back in 15 was so we could get those readings from here and be proactive to call those people that are having issues. We have about 1,500 that don't read to us daily. We still go out and get those readings. Those are still accurate. But in order to make it the best it can be, we've got to be able to see those on a daily basis. And right now, there's about 1,500 that they're trying to mitigate those errors, and that's their responsibility to do, to turn it over to us for a good working system. But we've struggled with this for years and trying to get it updated and get it corrected, and they've sent 2 or 3 people to do this, and we now feel like we've got the right people in town to help us work through those problems. It may be slow go, but we're going to try to get it done by the end of the year. I'm not going to guarantee that, but that's the goal.
Yeah. You might see them around town. They almost look like their water department. They have a little white truck and they're wearing the same color vest, but they're usually at a manhole or something.
Yeah, they're
like
there,
that.
but a lot of them are replacing the lids. We're going from the cast iron lids to a polyurethane type lid. It allows the signal to go through a little bit better. For those that they can't put those on, they actually drill through the metal cast iron lids and put a little mushroom on the top. It's a little transmitter to help us get all those readings to our collectors and repeaters that are around town.
It's going to be a real good thing.
Yes. And I don't know if you guys saw in the water bills, last month, not this month, but the last month, we actually requested everybody's phone number and contact information. We did that for a reason. If we start noticing these things in the future, where these people have issues, we're going to look at that contact information and try to call them ahead of time.
And what we have on file right now, if anything, you can guess 741, 743. And those are probably gone.
Most of the time when we get information, people don't call us and let us know that they got a new phone number. So, we're stuck with 20 years ago when John Doe came and put up his water deposit, back when landlines were still a big thing. That's what we have. And a lot of them, when we call, says this call cannot be completed this time. So, we're trying to get that updated as well.
Okay, so back to the matter at hand. Any concern, like I said, this is not to be alarmist, this is a responsible, this is what you're in your job to do, and monitor this. So that's what we're proposing. If you all have any issues, we'll discuss it. The next matter that I want to bring to the attention is, we're able to offer a 1.3% increase in wages in the grid. An increase in the fire department grid we've already discussed due to minimum wage. But one thing that is coming out of this, and we had grid discussion for months and months and came up with the grid. Chief Grady had something that he wanted to approach us with based on the changes within the dispatch department. So I'm going to ask him to speak to it in a minute. But I'll go back to the grid itself. Initially, we hoped that grid might last 8 to 10 years. It's lasted now, I think it'll be the 5th year or whatever it's been, and we're going to have to make a change at some point with the grid. We have to, every once in a while, the department heads have to basically manage it in a different way to get around some of the issues with the grid. And that's one of the issues that we have that Chief Grady would like to speak to. So, Chief?
Thank you. something that, what I wanted to bring to y'all's attention, and I spoke with Luke about it, and I've spoke with Mitch. We plan on moving our radio operators to 911, where they will become 911 operators. In addition to dispatching for city police only, they will dispatch for city fire. Not only that, there's 15 rural departments, well, counting the city, there's 15 fire departments that they will dispatch for, and 8 police departments, including the sheriff's office and still for the city police. Now, the reason we've not moved over there, obviously, COVID. We don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket, so to speak. We have the capability to run 911 here if we have to. And I've talked with Daniel and Tim, and until this thing dies down or somehow gets it under control, we're going to keep them separated. But whenever they do go over there, they're going to be asked to do, obviously, several more things than what they've done. And I mentioned to Luke about a 50-cent raise for radio operators. County operators, up until recent, well, still not yet, they were paid below ours. And I think their most tenured operator is 2 years. We have one at 20, we have one at 8, we have one at 6. And this job is not just simply answering the phone. There's several things. I was a radio operator 33 years ago. I couldn't do it today. There's a lot of things that goes into that. They've got to remain calm. They've got to take care of business. Now, they will be cross-training with 911 operators. They will become 911 operators. And what I would like to look at is raising their salary, 50 cents. Luke had suggested I do it as a stipend until we adjust the pay grid, because it's not just like a 50-cent. You got to start out and then it goes up by percentage. Luke can further explain that. And just a way to keep our operators. Now, what's that going to do to our budget? Well, as I've said before, within 6 months of us moving over there, those operators should be cross-trained. And then through attrition, I'm not going to replace 2 of them. And I've lost 3 operators the year and 11 months that I've been here. So, I mean, that's just something that you can lose or will lose. So as that goes, that will be 2 salaries. Matter of fact, when I started, we had 7 radio operators. I've lost 3, I've replaced 2. So we've already saved 1 salary. We're making it work with 6 instead of 7. And once we get over there, that'll be 2 more salaries, so that'll be a total of 3 through attrition that we won't have to replace. And I think that we are to pay them, as something extra to compensate them for their extra duties. And that's what I would like to present before y'all tonight, to see if that's something we might move forward to look at.
Again, the fire department grid, we already know, do minimum wage. It affected the grid. The increase in minimum wage has complicated every department payroll in the city, Parks and Rec, the police department, the fire department. And the added duties, as he said, it complicates the issue, because you can't give a straight amount to one individual without making another individual in a different part of the grid at a higher rate. So that's one of the issues with the grid that we have that will eventually have to be worked through. Until that time, there has to be some mechanism by which we can add pay for those additional duties. So, questions?
You don't know when they'll move over there?
We won't implement any, if we do get this approved, we won't implement any pay until they do get over there. It'll stay the same as long as they're right here. But
The duties don't change until they move there.
Correct.
Mitch?
I got it.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I want Mr. Boswell and Mr. Grady to finish their thoughts.
No, I mean, I really don't have an issue with, I think I'd like to know more about what kind of duties are going to change.
Okay, in addition to dispatching for police only, they're gonna dispatch for the sheriff's office. If a call comes in and it's an emergency in the sheriff's office, they'll take that call, just like the sheriff's office dispatchers will take ours. We will take fire calls, which they don't do now. They'll have, in addition to the city fire department, there's 14 other rural fire departments. They will transfer calls to EMS. They will have to answer, to be a 911 operator, they have to go through a checklist. And that checklist for EMS sometimes gets pretty in-depth because they've got to ask certain questions while they're transferring the call to them. It's just a lot of, extra things that they're going to be doing that, I have no doubt that they will do and do great. It's just that I would like to compensate them for what I'm asking them to go over there and do. Because in the end, I think it's better that all of our emergency radio operators is in one room where everyone knows exactly what's going on in the city of Harrison, the county of Boone.
Chris, once they're over there, how many dispatchers are on duty at the same time?
Well, the county has 5, 911 has 5. We have 6.
Okay, but
We,
again,
we feel like that will, through attrition, be trimmed down to 12. Now, we're not going to fire anybody, but as they leave, we're not going to replace them.
okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I don't think you're getting where I'm trying to go to here. Maybe
We hope to have 3 on a shift.
one from each, from the city, from the county. And
Yes, 1 from each agency.
And everybody's got to be able to handle everybody else's stuff.
That's correct.
Across.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
The county is actually raising, the county and 911 dispatchers is getting a pretty good raise. They're coming up to match us where we are right now. And, that's great. I hope that causes them to hire better quality employees. They've not had really good luck with that the last couple of years. No doubt it will, because, they're gonna do the job or they're not. They've had to let several go because of different things. And that's one thing that I mentioned with Tim and Daniel. I said, you're gonna have to get their salary up. We're asking these people to do an important job, because, somebody calls, their life's on the line or something bad's already happened, so.
No issue. No
Right.
issue.
Yeah, and a couple of points, if I may. No one will even come to argue that Chief Grady and all of the department heads in the city are incredibly responsible with the money. We've seen economies of scale. Now, this is going to add, it's going to multiply more than, the 15 or eventually 12, the number of people that are over there, by the synergies that we get. Now, there's 2 parts of this. He and I were discussing it, and I've discussed it briefly with